Yeah. Cool. I think we're live. I'm going to get into it. This is going to kind of be like a YouTube video straight up, but then also just a live stream. And the goal is to be able to clear Uber Lilith. If you haven't before, if anytime you try this fight you struggle, my goal is to show you how to do it. My character right now is completely busted. I could clear it super easily. But instead of doing that, I'm just going to let the fight play out. I'm going to try to explain all of the mechanics one at a time, and then maybe for a YouTube video in the future, I'm going to chop this footage up, edit it, and make a more complete guide. But basically, while doing it live, it's kind of hard to get everything perfect. Uber Lilith is pretty random sometimes, so you're not going to get the best examples for each of her wave combinations every single fight. You might even get really unlucky with like certain pulls from the mobs, and I just did off stream a second ago. So the goal, again, I'm just gonna be killing her a bunch. I'm not gonna be doing it with intents of like fastest kill time or whatever. I'm gonna try to show you how each of the phases work. So let's get into it. This is gonna be phase 1, and in phase 1, there are a few benchmarks you want to hit before you even want to put in serious attempts to Lilith. And we're going to take a look at those now. One of her mechanics is she summons a blood volatile, I believe it's called. And you need to be able to DPS it down. So, fight starts, volatile blood. You need to be able to kill this thing quickly, consistently. You need to be able to recognize where it is and kill it. So I just chopped it up really fast. At the start of a season or with a new character, you might not be able to do it that quick. You don't need to do it that quick, but I'm going to let you guys see what happens if you don't kill it. It grows larger, starts shaking, and then eventually it does a massive amount of damage and applies a stack of the new debuff with Season 4. What this debuff does is the more stacks that you have, the more increased damage you have incoming, and it's exponential. So if you have one stack, I don't actually know the value here. It could be twice as much damage, but the next stack is going to be 4 times as much damage, 8 times. So you eventually get to a point where you cannot survive any longer. Once again, we're going to look at phase 1, and all I'm going to try to do is kill the volatile bloods. I'm not going to try to do any damage to Lilith. And then we're going to take a look at her waves. I don't know what you want to call them, shadow waves, fire waves, but we're going to take a look at how to dodge the waves. And step 1 on how to dodge the waves is find a home base. Most people who do carries, etc., just stand down here at the bottom. So between volatile bloods, Lilith will do some auto attacks. She'll do some fire on the ground. Just dodge it. And most of it's really kind of inconsequential damage when it comes to all of her other skills. It doesn't apply any debuff that's exponential. You do eventually get a blood orb debuff from these blood orbs around the volatile bloods, but anyways. That right there was one of her wave combinations. I dodged it really quickly. I was in the middle of explaining some other stuff, so for the next wave I'll try to be more explicit, but once again, how to start practicing that mechanic is to just find a home base where your character is always going to be when that wave starts to come down. Most people pick bottom, so now we're going to see how it goes. With this combo, you can go out, in, out. You could also just run straight through it, which I'll try to show the next set of waves. But this is kind of one of the next benchmarks. Step 1 is, do you have the damage to kill the volatile bloods quickly? Step 2 is going to be, do you have the move speed to easily dodge the waves? In previous seasons, a lot of dodging could be done with evading. You can still use evades, but in this season you can get a ton of movement speed, and it just makes it easier. So I'm just going to run straight through. So that's another way for you to dodge these waves, right? It really depends on where they're located, how quickly you recognize what the pattern is, etc. But you don't have to do it in the exact same way every single time if you don't want to. But once again, movement speed is king, in my opinion, on this fight. If you don't know what you're doing and you're really struggling to dodge the waves, get movement speed on your boots, get movement speed on your amulet. That's another way to dodge. Dodge up the first one and then out if you want. And I'll do like a little diagram if I do end up doing a YouTube video that shows like the actual waves. But there's 2 combos once you get past 25%. Then there's another 2 that show up once you get past, I think, like 66. So when you're in like the bottom third of the fight. I kind of want to restart, but I could just phase her. And with Season 4, there's actually a new mechanic that Blizzard ended up going with. And it's more consistent transitions. So the transition from Phase 1 to Phase 2 used to be really random. And now we're heading into Phase 2. Lilith drops down. This is basically free damage on her, and then she summons 2 adds. With Season 4, it is always the exact same wave combination out of this transition, and we'll be doing this. I'll show this off a lot more later. But it is one of the combinations that you know of already in Phase 1, so it shouldn't be anything new. The goal is just to kind of hit your mark, your little home base, and then begin dodging. This is one of the new wave combos, basically 2 down the middle, and then 2 waves going the opposite directions. Again, when I'm doing this live, it's a little bit hard to show off and explain, but the easy way for you to dodge these waves is to get to the bottom of the screen, get used to the patterns, and then find how you can dodge them most easily yourself. There's a bunch of ways you could do it. I'm doing this on a Barb class. I'm not using any of my abilities. I'm just kind of using the default kit. For other classes, you could definitely use your mechanics, like Sork has teleport, Rogue has some other kind of TP thing. I'm not really sure. I've only played Barb, and I haven't had the urge to like jump to all the classes yet. But so we're gonna go back. I'm gonna force the transition from 1 to 2 real quick, and then explain once again. The waves in that transition are the exact same every single time. Before it was random, before it was really hard to understand what was going to happen. So once again, Phase 1 to Phase 2, Lilith drops in the center. You could do damage if you want. No matter where you are, the wave is going to be on the edge. It's going to spawn in, and then out, and then in. So that's how I would dodge that. As I'm talking, I'm not getting back to the bottom of the screen, and that allows waves to spawn in any direction. But if you are down here, it's pretty consistent. That was a pretty weird one. We're going to do it again. It should be coming from the top. Hopefully making things easier. I'm just going to dodge a bunch just so you could see some wave combos. And again, this is me just using movement speed. I'm not using evade. I'm not using bonus move speed from any of my abilities. This is just movement speed you can get on your gear. A lot of people that have difficulty with Phase 1 likely don't have movement speed, or at least enough of it to make it easy. The transition from Phase 1 to Phase 2 and Phase 2 to Phase 3 was my least favorite part of the fight, and they actually fixed that in Season 4, so it really isn't that bad. But as you can see, I can dodge really consistently. I am on mouse and keyboard. I don't know how hard this would be on console. I am going to show off one thing that is really kind of annoying early on in this fight, but these mobs actually have hitboxes. So you can't run through them unless you have certain affixes. I think there's like a boot affix. There's probably other spells in the game that let you run through enemies, but the enemies themselves have a hitbox, and you have to like run around them, and sometimes that can be really frustrating. One of the other kind of nuances to the fight I'm going to show off is in these flame waves, Lilith also has a hitbox. Oh, we accidentally auto-attacked. I think we're going to live here, but I'm going to try to run through the second wave here, and you can see that I'm actually hitting Lilith's auto like hitbox, even though she hasn't landed yet. And it sometimes gets a little weird, where you think you're running through the flame wave and then you get stopped up by where Lilith is. And I guess it's specifically the second flame wave in the center, so we're gonna try this again. So she's like right there, and you can kind of see how my character's strangely moving around that empty space. Like visibly there's nothing there, but Lilith actually is there. She just hasn't landed yet. So if you're confused as to why that's happening, it's because of Lilith's hitbox. We're up to 3 stacks now, and getting 3 stacks in phase 1 is basically a run ender, especially if you're doing progression. If you don't have enough damage to like instantly phase her in some of these fights, 3 stacks at this point is just too many. I'm going to move on to phase 3, but I think we'll want to reset here. So let me just try. I'll just die. Another new thing to this fight is before the edge of the circle used to just do a ton of damage. Now the edge of the circle, it still does damage, but it also applies one of the exponential stacks. So I'm going to insta-phaser to phase 3, and then the fight can get a little buggy if you do too much damage. I'm going to go phase 2, phase 3. So phase 3 is around this point in her health bar. It's going to appear at... Oh, nope. Okay. So that's one of the new patterns. That was phase 3. She is now going to actually do the phase 2 to... Okay, I bugged the fight. We'll reset in a second. But these are the two new wave patterns that you see in phase 3. They are way more like screen wide, and they at first are incredibly overwhelming. But they're pretty easy patterns that you can kind of follow in order to dodge them. That was kind of what I was explaining, where if you kill her too quickly, the phases aren't as clean. You don't really understand exactly how you go from one phase to another. So once again, we're going to do phase 1 to phase 2. We're going to do a clean phase 2. The wave should appear at the top of the screen, and it should be the same wave every time. You can do a little circle. You can dodge in, out, in. It doesn't really matter, just as long as you dodge these waves. I don't know if they made it easier, but it definitely feels a bit easier from last season, at least. You can run straight up if you want. And now we're going to phase Lilith from 2 to 3. It's a very similar transition. She's going to fly up in the air, land, and then summon new adds. This time it's going to be 3 adds. And they drop 2 volatile bloods each. And the goal here is to kill them in a reasonable amount of time, and to not kill them all at once if you can't handle that much AoE. But the new transition, once again, they fixed it. It's this exact same pattern every time. You run out, you run in. I think we took a little too long to run out, and we got a stack. 1 stack coming out of phase 1 is not the worst. 2 stacks like we just got right there is pretty bad. Out, in, out. I'm trying to think how I want to set this up. Can I just change this to move? I'm going to change my auto attack to a shout. And then we're going to get to that phase and I'm just going to run around. Phase 3 is definitely much harder than the previous phases. Just going to try to get there as fast as possible right now. We're in phase 3. I'm going to dodge out first. Dodge back in. That's the goal. If you don't have Unstoppable and you get hit by the center, you will get knocked back, and you're going to get 2 stacks almost instantly. Once again, you want to be in home base. You want to dodge these all in basically the same pattern. She has 4 patterns in this phase. These are the easy ones from phase 1 and phase 2. The new ones that show up in phase 3 are a big triangle. That's one of the big triangles. And then another is 3 waves, but if you're on the edge, you kind of block out some of the patterns. So like this is one of those things where I'm showing it live, but it's not going to be super helpful unless you know how the waves work. So if I do end up doing another YouTube video when I cut this footage up, be sure to check that out, because this is probably a little overwhelming for people trying to see it the first time. Once again, you can dodge all the way out if you're down here at the bottom. If you're in the center of the screen, it's really hard to get that in time. And like, as you can see, in phase 3, it's not, it's really not good enough for you to just move out. Now is when you'd want to use your evades or your movement speed buffs, etc. let's get back there really quick just so I can see maybe if I use my actual mechanics, we can dodge a bit more. There should be a hard transition to phase 3. Yep. Okay. I'm going to try to see if I can do this. Just dodge out. Dodge in. Now we still got the stack. The AoE on her, like the circle in the center, is really big. So you really need to be ready for it, or you just need to be down here. Evades help kind of dodge through these guys. So if you're stuck on them and you can't move, you can just evade through them. That's the biggest benefit to evade in this fight. You can just kind of evade through mobs. Once again, we're getting some easy patterns. I wish I had gotten these early on in the season when I was trying to kill her. But there's one of the 3 patterns, and again, we got hit by the giant AoE circle. I can't do the kind of same movement that I was doing in phases 1 and phase 2, which is just left clicking. You really do need to be ready for it, so I'm trying to think of how I want to show this off. I want to see if that's enough of a removal of damage to this be to like make phase 3 be semi-consistent. Oh, I just pulled off. I mean, this is kind of legit early season how it might go. I need to put on, I'm going to put on this one at least. Sure, let's say if you have this amount of damage, this is kind of what you might want to target if you're a new player. Okay, those crits are a little high. If you're looking to kill Uber Lilith the first time, anything in like the 10 million range on like your consistent hits I think would be good enough. You need to be playing really well at that point, but it's still very doable. I killed Lilith really early on. Like the difficulty of this fight specifically, I think, is why I enjoyed D4 so much. Every season she's kind of like the benchmark for not only my builds, but also just like where the balance of D4 is kind of gone. In this season, when I got to her, I recognized that they giga juiced her health from last season. So definitely early on is way harder of a fight. Okay, once again, phase 3. I'm going to try to do what I think is the best way to do it. We're going to go unstoppable, go in, or go out, go in. We're going to go down here. We're going to evade out, and you can just completely evade all the way out. You don't have to go back in there. I'm going to do it again. The hitboxes on these mobs are kind of screwing me up, and it definitely will mess other people up too. If you can't get out, just eat the stack. As I was saying before, the exponential damage, you really want to stay under like 3 to 4 stacks. If you have 4 stacks, you're done. If you have 3 stacks, you basically can't get hit in the second part of the fight. And we haven't even gotten to that part of the fight just because a lot of people get stuck in part 1. Part 1 is really hard if you don't have the damage, if you don't know where you should be standing, and if you don't think it's possible. Like, that's really one of the killers. A lot of people think the fight is just difficult, RNG, etc., but it really at this point isn't. Early on, Lilith was bugged. Her mechanics were really weird if you phased her too quick. If the transition kind of got a little weird, it would be much harder to have a consistent fight. In Season 4, it is really consistent. I can basically do this every single time. Even with like I don't have like, currently I'm rocking nerf damage, but even with even less damage, we could go pretty hard. So I'm gonna take her to part 2 now. All my gear's broken. We're gonna repair and then do part 2. We're also running no potion, but our character's busted is could, I think, one shot her face, or like part 2, and we'll do a run through where I just clear it completely. But right now we're going to phase her from 1 to 2 really quickly, and then I'm going to try to explain the goals of part 2 of the fight. These, once again, are going to be hard to explain live, but I'll do my best, and we'll run it a few times. I'm running a Bash Barbarian, and this is actually how much damage we could do if we're trying to go all out. 100 million crits aren't, like, they're super common with my current setup. And there are builds that can do even more damage, abusing some of the bleed mechanics as well as some crit tempering that you get on rogue and shit like that. But just the default Bash Barb is really strong right now. It's going to be a circle in the center. We want to run out. We want to run back in. We still got the stack. We want to run out. We'll run in, get hit because I suck. Alright, we're at 3 stacks already. Phase 2 is going to be a wash. But we're going to show the mechanics. Lilith is in her skeleton phase. She's going to spawn in the center. She's going to spawn 4 blood pools, 1 to the north, south, east, west, etc. And then throughout the fight, she's going to continue to spawn more. The goal of this phase is to damage her and knock her down. Knocking her down, staggering her, removes, I think, half of the pools. And that's super key for later phases. These are the 5 pools. She does a flyover, and then eventually she lights the entire stage on fire. That fire will insta-kill you. It will put a stack on you. This is one of her massive kind of set pieces where she screams and you just have to run around. The final thing is a giant AoE. I'm sort of explaining too many mechanics at once, but you can kind of see there. So we staggered her and it removed the bottom pool. I think 2 of the pools in the center. In order to do this fight, you're going to need to keep the stage pretty clean. There are stage transitions here, so this would be phase... We're going into phase 2, I guess, the top platform break. I'll explain this in a bit more detail the second time around. But you're going to kind of see how this fight goes just from what I did there. You kind of repeat that 3 more times. It gets harder and harder. The stage gets smaller and smaller. And by the ends, you... depending on how many blood pools are up, it's either really easy or incredibly difficult. There we were a little too late. We got burned. But again, tons of mechanics. Way too hard to explain live, but we're going to get back there, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to go through and just run my own inner thoughts instead of trying to explain mechanics. Just kind of like, you'll see what I see. No, my mic didn't die. This is what I'm thinking during this phase. Absolutely nothing. I can just insta-clear it. We want to get to the bottom of the screen here. We did. We have 0 stacks, and we are going to go into phase part 2 of the fight with 0 stacks, almost definitely. Cool. Okay. I'm going to try to do some damage here, but we're not going to clear her super quickly just so we can see more of the fight. How the platform breaks work is the top platform, the top right platform, the top left platform, and then it's the final stage of the fight. So we're going to clear her down to the top platform break real quick. So that should be enough. She spawned the 4 blood pools. She's now going to fly from the bottom of the screen to the top. And how I do this is I run kind of diagonally in, and then we do a loop. So it's kind of like a hook. And I'll explain it more in the second platform break. When she does this massive kind of AoE whirlwind, if you don't have Unstoppable up, she's going to pull you in, interrupt you. It's not going to be a good look. She's now going to fly up and do the top right platform break. Again, the hook that I'm talking about is you start in the center, you go up, and then you go around. And this will normally work on every single platform. It's going to make it so that the fire is always going to be following you, chasing you, and not get in front of you. We're going to try this again. If we knock her down here, it's going to be really good. As you can see, we knocked down it, dropped the blood pool in the top left. She's once again going to stage break the top left here. And how I'm going to do this is I'm going to run to the bottom. I'm going to run around the left side of the stage, get onto the platform, wait for the fire to dissipate. We got hit once or twice. 1 to 2 stacks is not the end of the world. 3 to 4 is when things get brutal. The final phase of the fight, oh, we're dead. So the final phase transition is basically all the platforms are broken. Instead of the fireballs stopping, Lilith will do her AoE shouts and they'll continue, so you need to be aware of that as you hit that final platform, but we're going to run it back. Once again, if you get enough damage, phase 1 is very easy. If you don't have damage, you really do need to worry about dodging waves, killing volatile bloods, the phase transition, etc. So like here, we do want to go out, in, out. We still got hit, I think. Yeah. Even with how many times I've done this fight, I still consistently get hit by the center circle wave. So those patterns I know pretty well. I don't even think when I clear them, I just kind of get it down. Once again, we're going to show off the hook, and the hook that I'm describing is whatever platform you're going to be going on, start in the center. As the, like the whole stage gets lit on fire, you basically go up and in, and then around. And I'm going to do that on every single platform break, basically. So if it's this one, you're going to go up, and then around, etc. I'm going to show that off. I think this is going to be bottom to top. Yep. Start in the middle. Go up left and then spin around right. And it lines up all the fireballs perfectly. Once again, if you have Unstoppable, use it now so you don't get pulled in. And then make sure you're not close enough to Lilith to get hit by that. Gonna get the second platform break. Yeah, let's just do it. I'm gonna kill her basically. How Lilith works is she can't actually die here. All of the platforms need to break before this happens. If there's no blood pools over there, you can just kind of do a normal circle here, but again, I still do the hook normally just because it works. We're standing way too long on the platform and we're getting hit by the fire, but I'm just kind of showing off what I expect you to be able to do. If you hit the platform as soon as it kind of lights on fire, that's a pretty good internal timer for you. Oh, and we're actually seeing a strange mechanic that to me feels like a bug, but to Blizzard, I guess it was like a catch-all, which is if there's only one blood pool, it shotguns, or like it machine guns. If there are 2 blood pools, they shoot out fireballs at like a consistent rate. If there's 1, it just shoots over and over and over again. We're going to run it back. We're going to do phase 2 a bunch. Or part 2 a bunch. And then we might go back to phase 1 with some more nerf damage. This stream is more just to kind of get the footage down. If anybody did hop in that wants a carry, let me know. But mostly I just want to try to explain how I feel the fight should go, how you should approach the fight, and then just some of the changes from season 3 to season 4, what they did to make it easier, as well as less RNG and less punishing. But before we get back to explaining the whole fight again, we're going to just do part 2 one more time. I'm really going to try to dodge out. Nope. I think I still don't have the phase 2 to phase 3 transition down as well as I should. We're already at 3 stacks, So doing phase 2 here might actually be difficult. Not only difficult, we died. Doing this live kind of lets me show where my weaknesses are on this fight, and it's definitely the circle. I am going to try to just get to the bottom of the screen. I feel like if the transition is how I think it is, it's always going to spawn in the center regardless of where my character is. So that means I can stand on the edges and be totally fine, I think. So we're going to do that right now. I'm just going to stand on the edge and then run in. That worked pretty well, I think. And we can run that back a bunch just to get that down. But that's kind of new in Season 4. A lot of the time, Lilith is sometimes just out of the arena, making it impossible to hit if you're melee, which is really annoying. We somehow got a stack, I don't know where. Once again, 1 or 2 stacks coming out of part 1 is fine. Try to get my cooldowns ready. Top to bottom, stand in the center, run top left, then run around. Make sure you have some way to go unstoppable here. Barbs of Rallying Cry. It's going to be top right platform break, start in the center, run up, run around, run down. We have another unstoppable with Wrath. I'm going to run Wrath. We did get hit by a fireball there on accident, but that's fine. There's only going to be 1 blood pull up. Oh no, there's 2 blood. Okay. So it's going to, again, be top left break here. We're going to run around the platform in a big circle. Normally that kind of lines up the timing perfectly. Hit the platform, run around. Stage is on fire. It's off. Grab unstoppable again because there's a knockback with that first shout. Keep running in circles. Dodge out of the circle, and then the fight's over. We're going to go back to phase 1, and I'm going to try to get the transition from 2 to 3 down a little bit better. But with this being the first season where killing Uber Lilith actually gets you something, I figured it was about time I showed this off. I feel like there are probably other videos that do it and explain it just as well, but there are also ones that explain nothing. Season 0 to Season 3, you could one-shot Lilith. In Season 4, with some of these less hardcore builds, it's going to be a lot harder for you to just pull up a video, see them doing, 100 million damage, and then you try to replicate that on your character that's only doing tens of millions or even just like less than that. But it's definitely possible. So I killed Lilith at like early in the season with maybe my bashes doing like maxing out at 10 million damage. We're now doing 10 times that, but all right, we're back into it. I'm going to do the phase 2 to phase 3 transition once again. So this is going to go straight to phase 3. I'm going to try to stand on the edge first, and we're going to see what happens here. Let's just stand down here. Okay, so I think it's always in the center now. And I'll show what happens if you run out. You're going to get 1 stack and then just take a bunch of damage. We're going to try this again. I'm going to try to stand in the spot that I think you can just dodge that massive AoE in the center from.
Can't use that.
And if we can make that consistent, then I think everything else in the fight is going to be consistent. This is going to be phase 3. So I think like right here, phase 2 to phase 3. I think if we stand right here, we're going to dodge the center. Oh, I didn't do enough damage. Oops. This wave mechanic is also one we didn't talk about. It will apply an exponential stack. You will have difficulty with it. Okay. Phase 2 to phase 3. I'm going to try to stand over here and just see if we don't get hit by the circle. That did work. We almost got hit by one of the waves though, so I think you do need to be aware of that. I will run it back again in a sec. I honestly feel like phase 1 is where people might actually need more help. Phase 2, once you get it down, it's actually pretty easy. You also just need a bunch of damage and you need to be able to stagger her. And we can kind of go over that a bit more. Run out. There's a mechanic in this fight that I haven't talked about, and it matters when you don't have a lot of DPS. And it is when she spawns the blood pools. So at the start she's going to spawn 4, and then after that one of her mechanics is to just spawn a new one. If you stand really close to one of the blood pools that already exists, when she summons the follow-up blood pool, you can get it to cancel out one of the previous ones. And we'll try to show that off right here. We have no unstoppable, so I'm going to try to not die here. If you don't have unstoppable during that... Oh, okay, so right there she spawned a blood pool. It was far enough away from other pools that it didn't remove one of the old ones and it just made a new one. That was... Even though the platform looked like it was going to break, it didn't. Her health breakpoints matter a little bit. Should be a blood summon, yeah. So we got it. We tried to get it close enough to those two that it would cancel. It didn't. I'm gonna just try to not kill her until I can. Oh, there we go. So because that blood pool was close enough to the other one, it kind of absorbed it, and that's what you want. So if you can't do enough damage to clear these phases really easily, you're gonna want to try to make it so that when she spawns those blood pools, they're near other blood pools on the off chance that you can actually have them absorb into each other. Once again, start down, go up, kind of loop around, and you should be good to go. When she comes out of this, she should spawn a blood pool. I'm going to stand on these two. It replaced the old one instead of just making a new one. That's what we want. Once again, start kind of low, follow up to the left, move all the way around because you don't have a lot of room to work with, and then hopefully don't get hit. Have unstoppable up so you don't get knocked back there. Keep running in circles. And I think we should kill her easily once again. We did it. We got up to 4 stacks, so that's kind of like the maximum. But yeah, let's go back to phase part 1, phase 2 to phase 3 transition. I think we have it down now, where you just need to stand on the edge. It does depend on where the waves are going to spawn, because it seems like a wave could spawn directly on top of you. But it does seem pretty easy to get that consistent with how the changes that they made in Season 4.
I'm not ready yet. I must wait.
This could be phase 3. I'm just going to stand where we're thinking. It is phase 3. I'm going to go unstoppable. We're going to run up. Yeah. That's the way to do it. So from phase 2 to phase 3, stand on the edge. Wait for her circle in the center. And then run back in once she's landed. For the rest of this phase, get to the bottom of the screen. And be careful to dodge the patterns that you know about from part 1, or phase 1, phase 2. And if you're not good at all the patterns, if you just do the fight enough, sometimes you'll get lucky. She'll do a bunch of easy patterns in a row and you can clear it. Oh. I'm just gonna do this part 2 one more time, and then I'm gonna call it. I am gonna kind of do a brief overview of what I consider like the benchmarks you need to hit. I don't actually have like the damage numbers, etc., but you can kind of get a feel for it getting into the fight, and just finding out if you can kill the volatile bloods, if you can stagger Lilith. So like right here in this first part, if you like, so I just got Lilith's stagger meter up to like 75%. Obviously I'm doing a ton of damage and a ton of stagger. That's kind of how the bash barb is set up. Other builds are definitely not going to be able to do it that fast, but if there's an easy way for you to set that up, it might be something good for you to do in part 2 of this fight. So if you have a weapon that you can swap in, etc., I would maybe look into that. Looks like another break. This only happens if you've done way too much damage. But this is how all of the fights used to go from Season 0 to Season 3. Most builds were able to do this like way easier. This is kind of like the end game. In the current state of the game, I feel like it takes a while for you to get to this point. I have a ton of gear. I've masterworked the heck out of it. Like perfect tempers. And an Uber. So don't expect your character to be able to do what I just did, but whew. Anyways, in part 1, one of the benchmarks, being able to kill the volatile bloods really easily. 2, being able to kill the ads in a reasonable amount of time, because they can get really annoying. 3, being able to dodge through the ads, either with something that makes you unstoppable, or let's see. No, we don't have it. There's an affix that makes you be able to move through enemies. 4, you want to be able to understand the transition. So from phase 1 to phase 2, phase 2 to phase 3. They in season 4 made it identical. So every single time you make that transition, the waves are going to come out in the same pattern, basically. Then in part 2, you need to be able to stagger Lilith. You need to be able to get the running around the platforms when she platform breaks down. And basically, like I was saying, if it's at the top, if the top platform is going to break, you want to start in the middle, run up, and then diagonal, and then just kind of hook around. So the movement kind of looks like this, right? And then you just keep that going anytime she does one of her transitions where the stage is going to be on fire. And what that does is basically as you run up, all the fireballs come down at you. No matter where the blood pool is, it's going to kind of shoot central. And then as you go this way, it's going to start following you up and to the left. And then as you hook around, that's when it starts to slowly move around. And you kind of get every single fireball that's going to be chasing you to be behind you instead of in front of you. Pretty straightforward once you do it a bunch. It's just getting to phase 2 that is the hard part. Man, can I turn that shit off? There we go. So hopefully this helped. I'm going to maybe cut this footage up and make an actual video and kind of show off, like, because I can easily show, like, based on a certain pattern, like if there's a wave here, you know what it's going to be if there's a wave here, here, and here, or whatever. It's probably easier to explain if you had like a firewall sork and you can put the firewalls down right now. But anyways, I might chop the footage up But otherwise, what do I want to do? I could end the stream, or I could go... Let me go do the highest tier pit I can possibly do right now. I haven't played in about a week. I was really enjoying D4 Season 4 until I found out that you could temper gear with tempering books of other classes, and that was the meta, and I don't know, it's a problem I have where I just get like turned off on games when it seems like designs aren't unintended designs become meta. I just don't enjoy it. I thought I got up to 119. I'm only at 113. The bar build that I'm running is really strong, but it's not... It doesn't get into the billions of damage. And I actually think that when we picked up Shaco, it might have been bait. I don't think Shaco's very good for Bash Barb. It gives you damage. It gives you +4 to all your defenses, which is probably the biggest benefit. But you can get damage with Tuskhelm. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Oh, we also don't have max resistances just because I respec to the Thorns Barb and I hated it. And then I respec to the Pip Barb, Bash Barb, and I forgot my previous build. So yeah. I think we're running with not maxed out fire res right now. Okay, I mean 52 is not the worst. Bash Barb this league felt really like Diablo 2. It's basically just auto-attacking giant packs of mobs until they die, and then you get a bunch of loot. If you're a Diablo 2 player that used to play Barb, used to like Frenzy, or just like any of the auto-attacks, I would give this a go. It's like a very old school playstyle, that's for sure. And then there are versions of this, like Rupture, that actually play way more like an actual build. Run in, Rupture, that then procs your gloves. Can't remember when. I think we had an extra, oh, Steel Grasp. Hook everything in, Rupture, etc. There's some pretty cool stuff you could do. Holy shit! So early on when I was first... Oh shit, we're dead. No we're not, no we're not, no we're not, no we're not. When I was first pushing the pit, these spiders, some of the spiders, were the hardest mobs in the game. I think it's the ranged ones, not even the elites. Anyways, once we get to the end of the pit, you're gonna see why I stopped playing for the season. It will be interesting to see what they do with balance. In D3, they tried to balance sets in like certain ways, where like by the end, one set was going to be clearing greater rifts like 10 to 15 higher than other sets. That's basically what they did here, is my guess. So I don't think they're going to try to tune different builds for each class to be of the same tier. I think they are going to try to balance maybe the best build for each class. I make enemies unstoppable so often, I might want to run exploiters. Do I really need damage reduction? Wait for our cooldowns. Jump back in. Running no steel grasp is kind of annoying.
I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready.
I don't know how I feel about this being the end game at the moment.
I'm not ready.
When it comes to pushing, there's not really any huge benefits you get, whereas when it came to D3, you were leveling up gems. So anytime you went higher than your like last, there was a chance that you'd have like a better way to increase your gear. For now, it is just you getting more masterworking materials, which I guess is pretty good, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't played since the patch on them making the masterworking upgrades cost less, so can't really say the status of that, but we're just trying to get to the boss fight with, let's say, like, I mean, we're going to be pushing it. We're going to have to, it's going to be like a, we're going to use all our time here, I think. We might even run out of time. I don't think we're going to be able to kill the boss.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
Oh wait, did we? I think we might have even skipped too much. Gonna have to backtrack. I hope not.
I'm not ready.
Oh, yep. This is another thing that they did kind of poorly. I hope they fix it next season. Just make 3 levels of the pit. Making 2 requires you to backtrack if you fuck up. And it's awful. I don't know why they would lean on like the lower ends. Don't really get it, but they fucked up. Okay. Even if we get to the boss now, I don't think we can kill it in time. Hopefully this is going to be enough to get us there. Yep. And now we're going to find out if I can do 113. I can't remember. I feel like when Alk saw this boss, he said this was one of the hardest. Is this the Detonate Dead boss? I don't think it is. Maybe this is actually one of the easier ones. We definitely have enough damage. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to dodge. Do I care enough? These fights as melee are pretty annoying. I'm guessing as every single class they're annoying. Oh shit. I wasn't paying attention, we ate a trillion fireballs. God damn it.
I'm not ready.
Well, we've been in this fight for 2-3 minutes. Alright. It's gonna be cutting it close. And we have less damage uptime later as the fight goes on, so we're definitely not gonna be able to do this, I don't think. Oh, and there are these tornadoes, which are my least favorite mid-fight things, I think. I'm just gonna try. Oh, gonna stray for me? Alright, okay. I'm just gonna try to eat more mechanics, just see if we could do this. 4 minutes, I believe.
I'm not ready.
I wonder if they nerfed the damage on some of this stuff, actually. It's interesting. Feels like I'm getting hit way more often, but maybe... I don't know. Any number of things could have changed from... Oh, maybe it was... Holy shit. I thought when they talked about vulnerable damage on bosses, they meant our vulnerable damage, but maybe they meant the boss's vulnerable damage on you was causing them to do way more damage? I wonder. Because those things used to one-shot my ass.
I'm not ready.
Did they make the pit easier to tank? Which means that this would be way more about doing damage, so my potions that are solely... Oh. 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 We only have max life right now on our potions, but they could be damage. We could boost our damage by like 20%.
I'm a
2 minutes. I believe.
I'm out of potions.
I believe. Oh, I'm out of potions. We're dead.
I'm not ready.
I'm going to take a look at the blue post after this to see if it is what I was thinking. That it was boss vulnerable damage that actually got patched. Because that's what it feels like.
I'm not ready.
This feels way easier to tank this stuff. Got some more potions. I'm just going to try to face tank everything, see if we can kill it in time. Minute and a half.
I'm not ready.
Get a stagger here, please. Please get a stagger, 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 please. Of course we get the stagger when Lilith is up. 1 minute. 1 minute remains. Maybe.
I'm out of potions.
Where's our vulnerable gold proc, man?
I'm afraid.
42 seconds, I believe. My heart is not racing. 30 seconds. I don't think so. I don't think we're gonna get it. We could, but...
I'm not ready.
14, 12, No go.
Out of potions.
Super close. In fact,
I have no potions.
just barely. Oh, what a game. Anyways, as you can see, you clear the pit after a full 15 minutes after doing high effort gameplay, and you get same uniques that you normally get. But that's gonna do it for me. Hopefully the Lilith live stream stuff was a good explanation on the fight. Obviously it's a lot harder to pull off live, but I might chop it up, make another separate YouTube video, explain it. Hopefully that helped any of you guys, but